Hi, I'm Murray Hopkinson, Chinese medicine practitioner, and today's little video is going to be about how you can stay healthy in your home if you're in a place of self-isolation. There's lots of people all around the world now. Coronavirus or COVID-19 is everywhere, almost in every country. It's widespread. The World Health Organization's declared it a pandemic. And lots of people are self-isolating just to protect other people or as measures that have been asked by the government. And you're worried about your loved ones or you're worried about protecting people in the community, and that's good. I want to say that it's good on you for doing that. If you're taking extra measures than what the government's asked you to do, and you're able to do that. Now, the government always have to balance up between economy, keeping the economy going and keeping people. We need food, we need water, we need services running, and also for people to be healthy. And there's lots of, we're in a state now in our world where there's lots of things we can do at home in a productive way. There's lots of things you could do for your work. And so maybe you're in a position where you're at home more, you're not working from home, or you're not having to work as much. Or you might even find that your work gets done quicker because you're not having to travel to and from work. You don't speak to colleagues face to face. You don't get those kinds of distractions, and you might finish up your work quicker than you need to. So what do you do then? Let's not just sit all day, playing Candy Crush or something like that. So what can we do to keep our minds and our bodies healthy, even though you're just staying in your own home? Day 1, day 2, day 3 might not be so bad, but day 5, day 7, day 10, people can get a bit antsy, especially if you've got other people around you that, are the same people over and over and over. So what can we do to maintain health and keep ourselves healthy mentally? One thing I'd suggest that you do at the start of this, even before you've done the self-isolation, so if you're just thinking about that, or that might be something that's coming up, I would suggest that you get a piece of paper or on your iPad or wherever you write things down. If you keep a journal or a notebook or something like that, just get a blank piece of paper out and write down all the things you've always wanted to do. Like you might want to have learned an instrument. You might want to learn how to do a craft or an art or something interesting, or something like maybe you want to travel the world. Maybe there's something you've always wanted to do. There might be 2 or 3 or 10 things or lots of things you might want to do. It might be little projects. Something that I've always done is write these things down as they come to me, because when I was doing my research for my Masters of International Health, when I was doing my thesis for that, it was a long process, and it wasn't a PhD thesis, but it was, still pretty, for me, it was arduous. And what would happen is I was doing the research for my project, and ideas would come to me about other things, or I was reading these papers and these academic papers, and I'd think, oh, that's such a great idea. I'd love to research that. Or I'd love to read more about that. Or I'd love to and I had to keep constantly saying, no, Marie, no, don't get sidetracked. Focus on this. And so what I have on my desk, someone told me this idea, and it works. It's a great idea, great idea, is to make an ideas box. So whenever an idea pops into your head, you just write it down on a little piece of paper and you put it in that box and you close the lid. And I've still got my ideas box, and do you know what? I think I might just actually dig that out. That I've got that exact ideas box from back in 2006 when I was doing my my master's thesis, when I was doing writing that thesis out. And, so what I'm getting at is there's ideas, there's things that, maybe you've always wanted to do, but you just haven't had the time to do them. Maybe there's stuff. And then, so the second area I'd go through is things around your house, because you're going to be in your house. What are some things that you need to get done in your house? There might be some things that you wanted, maybe you wanted to paint a room. Maybe you wanted to redo some curtains or do some redecorating. Maybe you wanted to learn how to sew. You've got a sewing machine. You want to pull that out and do something. These kinds of DIY projects. Maybe you want to start a blog. Or a video blog, and you've got a phone, you can do your recording. All you need to do, when I started this YouTube channel, all I was using was my iPad Air. And that's the earliest videos I've got. I had no external microphone, nothing like that. It was just me, like I am now, just sitting in front of it at my desk. The room was very echoey. It's not the greatest audio, it wasn't anything fancy. But then that's how the channel got started. And so do the best with what you've got. You've got some stuff there. I had no lighting equipment, anything like that. I just used to sit there and make the videos the best I could with what I had. And so are there things that you would love to get into? Some stuff that you are just, you think, oh, these are old ideas, or, maybe you'd like to learn an instrument. You might think, oh, Mary, but I can't go to music lessons. Or most of the we have an incredible access to resource online, like incredible, amazing. And some of that's not even things that you need to pay money for. I'm not suggesting go and try to, squeeze free music lessons out of some poor muso that's struggling to survive now that all their gigs have been cancelled. But there's lots of ways you can get started with not spending much money. And so people who offer online lessons, even local musos, you might want to ring up some of your local, if let's say you did want to do music lessons, this is what I would do. I would ask on Facebook if people know anyone who plays that instrument or teaches that instrument, or call up a local school and say, hey, I know you're probably not taking any students right now, but are there any teachers there that would offer me online lessons to get started? And then you build a rapport with them, you get to know them, and then once this situation's over, you can actually go and have the lessons, in person if that suits you and that's what you want to do. Find a place you can buy one of these instruments. You can have it shipped to you. You can buy them on eBay. They can be sent to you. And there's lots of stores that would probably do shipping to your door. And that kind of stuff. If you can't leave your house, or get someone to go to a music shop and get that instrument for you if you're in self-quarantine and it's safe, for someone else to go and get that, something like that. These are the kinds of things that I would do, right? That you could think, okay, like you could use that time, especially if you're going to be in isolation for, 6 weeks, let's say. Most people are in self-isolation for 2 weeks, not wondering, as a precautionary measure or something like that, to see whether they get sick or not. If they come back from overseas, that's what the government's just implemented in Australia, is that anyone coming from overseas has to be self-quarantined for 2 weeks. So these kind of projects, if you run a business, if you're self-employed, you're thinking, whoa, I need to try to get some money coming in the door. Well, you could do the same exercise, and you could think, what are some things that one could bring in some income that you could produce, that you could do online? And that's probably a whole nother video to kind of give you some ideas for that. But, things you could sell, or courses you could make. And secondly, what are some things in your business or in your work that you've always wanted to improve? You think this system doesn't work very well, and I want to improve it. I want to get better. We need to get better at it. And you could even collaborate with some of your work colleagues over Skype or telephone or something like that, and to say, hey guys, let's work on this project because maybe you can't do your other work. There's just no other work to do. And so rather than costing your company money, you could call your boss and say, hey, I'm at home, I'm getting paid to be at home. What can I do? Are there some projects that you need worked on that I can work on for you? And that way you're not sitting there at home bored out of your brains, kind of going, wow, there's only so many levels of Candy Crush I could play today. So these are some things I would do. Now, the last one I want to mention, this is really, really useful. It's called, there's a psychology website called, you just look up strengths. I'll put the link to the website below. And it's based on Martin Seligman's happiness, the type of psychology, the happiness type of psychology, if you like. So he has this a way of helping people to get out of a depressive state, or a place of depression or sadness or despair or mundane and things like that, and help you to move out of that by finding out what your strengths are. And so you do this test. I'll put the link to the one below, and it's a free one that you can do online, and you should take the test at a time where you're not hungry, or you're not agitated too much, and you're just as peaceful and as in your normal state as you can, so that you get an accurate reading of what those things are, and ask you all these different questions, and then you find out what are your strengths. And they'll send you an email, and it'll say these are your top 5 strengths. And so what you want to do is every day pick one of those strengths. So once you get that email, I would write out those top 5 strengths and put it somewhere, put it on a post-it note, put it on the wall or something like that. And every day you pick one of those strengths and you do something different with that strength. So let's say a common strength is creativity. So if that is your strength, then you might be a musician, or you might be an artist in some way, or you might be in the creative arts or working in that way. But you could think of, okay, what's a new way? So you might have like a few tins of food left and some other things, some weird stuff, left at the back of the cupboard because you've done a bit of a clean out. And you think, I'm going to make a creative recipe today, and I'm going to cook with no recipe. I'm just going to make the recipe up myself and see what happens, and you know, hopefully turn out something delicious. So that would be a creative way to use that strength of creativity in a new way, and that is very empowering for you. Another strength example would be appreciation of beauty. So if that's your strength, then something that would help you would be to go outside in your garden and look for 5 beautiful things and just appreciate them and just note them. Or to, to go through a magazine and pick 5, like some people who have a strength of appreciation of beauty really have a good eye for design. Or another way of doing that would be to redesign your house. Not your whole house, but a room in your house. Pick a room and say, I'm going to redesign this room. And you might not be able to go out and buy different things and, go through lots of shops. You might not even have the money to do that. I'm not suggesting go and do that. But it might be something where you could say, right, I'm just going to order a couple of different cushions online, and that's, I'll put purple here where there was black and white. Or you might just move things around. You might just move your furniture around. That redesign kind of gives it a fresh look and that, a fresh appreciation of beauty for that room. So there's lots and lots of different strengths that people have, and they're just a couple of examples. But I find that very useful for my patients as a way to help you through a tough time. Now, for lots of people sitting at home by themselves, it's a tough time. There's a few different personality types that will be loving this, that will be just thinking, yes, I can finally get away from society and just be by myself and do whatever I want. No one's going to bother me. But for lots of people who need that human interaction, they thrive on that human interaction, this is going to be hard. And so don't just dismiss that it's going to be hard. It will be hard for some people, and that's okay. And to acknowledge that at the start is a good way to do that. So make a list of the things that you would have loved to have done in the past, the things that you just think, I'd love to do that. Now, one of those things I mentioned might be travel the world. Now, you're not going to get out of your house now and travel the world. No, that's ludicrous. But why don't you plan your next trip? Why don't you plan your trip for next year? Because by this time next year, things will be different for sure, but they won't be the same as they are now. Like we won't be in this situation now, and we have to have hope that things are going to be different. So why don't you plan your next trip? Why don't you do your research? You can still go on the internet. You can still look online. You can still plan, to go on. Like maybe you've wanted to see the 7 Wonders. How much does that cost to do that? Why don't you plan that trip if you've got the time to kind of do that now? There's lots of other ideas that I've got, and I'll be bringing you some more videos every day. I'm going to make these videos much more frequently because guess what? I've got a bit more time as well. And so, the life being as it is, I like to be productive and I like to do things, and I've got lots and lots of stuff that I need to get on with and that I've got to do. And this is a perfect time to do that. So if you're looking at the situation from that looking forward mentality, rather than, okay, yes, things have changed. Yes, you can't go out as you normally would. Okay, we can't, get that social interaction that we normally would get through doing those things. But there's lots of other ways we can get that, and we can do those things that are important to us. And maybe these are things that you've been putting off that you really need to do for yourself. So I'll be putting forward some other videos soon, and I hope you're doing well. I hope your family's well. And I hope that you are able to look after yourself and take care of yourself. And I'll see you again on the next video soon.